Level 70. If we look at this row, it has to have 5 walls. And there needs to be 2 empty spaces either here or here. Which means these 3 have to be walls. And it's the same here. That lets us see gray row here, a gray column here. And now this row can be filled in with walls and this column. Now we see this bomb has to hit this bunny. This bomb has to hit this bunny. This bunny has to be hit by this bomb and this by this bomb. Now we can fill in walls here and here. This can't be left empty, so it has to be all walls, and the same here. Now this column is gray, and this row is gray. This can't be a wall, because if it's not, then these 2 are walls, and this is a separate empty cell. So this has to be a wall. And the same here, so this has to be a wall. We can fill in this column with walls and this row. Now there has to be empty spaces connecting this crystal to the rest. So these have to be empty, which means the rest of this row is walls. This row can be filled in with walls. Now this is gray, and so is this. There's one more wall in this column. Now this is gray. There's 1 space left, which has to be a wall. Level 71. We can fill in this row with empty space in this column. So we have 8 bunnies, we have 4x, and we have 4y. So y can not be equal to x, which tells me one of them is 2 and one of them is 0. Let's assume x is 0. That means we need to have walls here. But that means no more walls in this column, which means x is not 0, so we have a contradiction. That tells me that x equals 2 and y equals 0. 4 times 2 is 8, so that works out nicely. Okay, so this x bomb has to hit these 2 bunnies, which cannot be hit by this bomb, which then has to hit these 2, etc. We need walls here and here, and that grays out some rows. And columns. There must be a wall between this bomb and this bunny, graying out this column and this row. There must be a wall here. This is gray. This is gray. There must be a wall here, graying out this. There are 2 walls in this column, graying out this row, and our final space is grayed out, so it must be empty. Level 72. This is grayed out. So is this. You see this row has 1 wall. That tells me that this bunny has to be hit either by this bomb or this bomb, Ergo, it cannot be hit by this bomb. That grays out this row. We see these have to be hit by these bombs. Now, y is at least 1. If y equals 1, then x has to equal 2. But this x can only hit 1. And so y cannot be 1, and it has to be 2. And it can't be 3. So the wall can't be here or here. It has to be here. That means that these bunnies have to be hit like so. Means we need to have a wall here. This column needs to have 2 walls, and so does this. Now this is gray. This column must have 5 walls. 1 more wall on this row, which is not here. This row is gray, and this row. 2 walls in this column. The walls in these columns have to be here and here, therefore cannot be here or here. That lets us fill out this row. And now this is gray. This row has 2 more walls. Now this is gray. 1 more wall in this column. And for the final ones, we can't have a wall here because that would separate this. So this must be empty. This must be a wall. Ergo, this is empty and this is a wall. Level 73. So there are 2 bunnies, 2x and 2y. That means one of them is 0 and one of them is 1. This column has 2 walls, and that means that one of these bombs cannot hit one of these bunnies. Since both are y, they have to be equal. That means none of them can hit these bunnies. Walls have to be here and here, not here. Also, that means these bombs have to hit the bunnies. That lets us fill in this row, which grays out a lot of columns. This column has 9 walls. Now these walls have to be filled in so as to not make a separate zone. Now this is grayed out. This row has 3 walls, so does this. Well, you can't determine that just yet. See, this column has 9 walls. That means we must fill in here. It grays out this. We have to have a wall here. And these are gray, which means we must have a wall here. And the final one must be empty. Level 74. So we need to solve the equation 2x plus 2y plus 2z equals 10. So the only possible configurations of values you have there is 0, 1, and 4, and 0, 2, and 3. So at least one of these is 0. And the others are either 1 and 4 or 2 and 3. If you look at this row, there's 1 wall. Now let's assume y equals 0, then you would have to have a wall here. Then you could not have a wall here. Ergo, y is not 0. You have to have this. So either z equals 0 or x equals 0. So that lets us fill out most of this row, except these two, one of which must be a wall. Now we know that y is not 0. And this bunny has to be hit by this one, so we know that y is greater than or equal to 2. Also, there must be a wall here. And if we look at the other bombs, X, this one can hit 1, 2, 3 bunnies. This one can hit 1, 2, 3, but that would be the same as this one. So X is at most 2. What about Z? This one can hit only 2. Okay, so that tells us that X or Z is maximum 2. And that tells me that Y is either 3 or 4. Because remember the configurations, 0, 1, and 4, or 0, 2, and 3. This one can hit 3 and no more. So that tells me Y equals 3 and X or Z equals 2. Okay, so this one needs 2 more targets, one of which has to be this one. Now, if we look in this row, it has 2 walls. One of them has to be here, and the other has to be one of these two. Ergo, these are not walls. So now we know that X is not 0, and that tells me Z has to be 0. So we can place some walls here. And that also means X has to be 2. X equals 2 and Y equals 3. This one needs one more target. So does this one. And the final bunny has to be hit by this X. And Z's can hit nothing. This has to be a wall. This is gray. Now we can fill this column with walls. This is gray. We can fill the rest of this column with walls. And the same with this column. This row has one more wall, which has to be one of these 2 spaces. So not here or here. We can fill in this column with walls and this one. This cannot be a wall because that would lock in this bomb. So it has to be open, which means this has to be a wall. One of these has to be a wall. So this is not, neither is this. And that lets us fill in this column and this one. Now this row is gray. And that lets us fill in this column, making this row gray. Now this can't be a wall because that would lock in this bomb. So this has to be a wall. And now this column is gray. This is gray. And there's one space left, which has to be a wall. Level 75. We need to have walls here and here. So now these columns are gray. So we need a wall here. And we need a wall here. Now this column is gray. Now there has to be a wall here. And one of these 3 has to be a wall. So this is not a wall. This, not walls. Now we have to have a wall here. There has to be a wall here between these 2 and a wall between these 2. So these are not walls. And the remaining wall in this column must be between these 2. So it can't be here. Therefore, we must have a wall here. There have to be walls here and here. Now this is gray. This is gray. The wall in this row must be here and not here. This is gray. So now we must have a wall between these two bombs. And this is gray. We have to have a wall between these here. And one between these. Now this is gray. We must have a wall here, leaving this gray. This is also gray. So now we see there are two walls left in these two columns. One wall left in each of these rows and one wall left in each of these rows. And we must have a wall between this bunny and this bomb and this bunny and this bomb. So one wall here, one wall here. That means there has to be one wall here and one wall here. Now to find the orientation. If we put the walls like this, then these are locked in. So that can't be. And so the walls have to be placed like this. They can't be placed like this, because then there are no walls to place here. Therefore, the walls down here have to be placed like that. Now these are gray. And over here, similarly, we have to have diagonal, because there's only one wall left in each row and column. If we put the walls like this, then this makes a wall off. So they can't be placed like that and have to be placed like that. And that's it. Level 76. Okay, so we can fill out some rows here. Like so, and some columns as well. Now let's see. It's a bit more complicated with 4 variables. So let's just try to look at the layout and see if we can deduce something. Now there's one wall on this row. And if there's a wall here, so this A hits 0, then there can't be a wall here, and this A hits 2. That means these two are not walls. And also that means this one hits 2 targets, this one hits 1. That can't be. So they have to hit more targets. So this one hits 3. This one also hits 3. And that also means there has to be walls here and here. So B is 0. And this is grayed out. So B is 0. That means there's a wall here. This row is gray. This column is gray. So Y seems to be 2. And there must be a wall between these bombs, which must be here. Grays out this row. And there's one space left, which has to be a wall.